Welcome, Mr. Janak. Today in this channel, Teaching Learning, we are going to talk about, the education systems. Mainly, we check some of the references from Eastern and Western world, how people are getting education and what is happening. So, from your own experience and your opinions, you can, elaborate and discuss some of the issues related to teaching learning, so that our students and teachers will be benefited from from such discussion, because people do not have those access and privileges to visit the new places, and in some Western countries where the people are getting the education systems and so on. So welcome in this beautiful morning. And would you, sir, please describe a little bit from your childhood and school education?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this time. The question is very, very huge. The education system in Nepal, and bring it back to the West. And I will try to summarize it in a very, very specific way here. I grew up in an environment where we have very limited resources, and then we had to do everything from within that limited space. So having that limited access, what we did was great, but then we could have done much better if things would have been a bit different. So 20 years ago, when I did my school education and then university education here in Nepal, and the whole education system was based on the text. So we were centered around the text. Text was the primary things that would count it as our education. And then it comes to the point of grade then. So text and then grade was the ultimate outcome of the education. But then when you look at the realities, the both of these things are good. But that was not the ultimate point of education. So that was the main variation that we see in the West. So they did consider text as important, but then that was not the ultimate outcome for them. For them, it was more about creativity.
Yes,
more about innovation.
Yeah. Before we compare the education systems in the East and West, would you please tell us what kind of story, or your how do you remember? Because we can't remember everything, but the overall systems. Can you talk a little bit about your entire education, school education, let's say from grade 1 to 10 or SLC at that time? What happened? Mm-hmm. Can you summarize some of the major incidents over there related to teaching, learning, teachers, quality and resource and available, and so many, maybe test date and certification, examination and results? Mm-hmm. Do you have some funny and memorable, or let's say some serious incidents, and how do you really want to remember those events?
See, the fact in our education system in those days was the result oriented. The moment that you score the first division, parents are happy.
Yes. Teachers
are happy. So by hook and crook we tried our best to score that level, to come to that level. Yes. So sometimes I was to think like this: the education we did, we studied. It's not for ourselves; it's for the parents, for the school, not for ourselves. It turned to me like this at the moment when I think about this whole system. So it was not about learning; it was more about getting something.
Yeah.
So the moment you get the first division, you are so happy, and your parents are happy, and the school is happy. The school has got a high rank, and the parents are happy because their children are they scored first division. That was limited. So I have got an experience when I was doing my school education. I was the student who regularly came in the first position throughout my school days. And then when I came to the campus level, during those days, we didn't have this +2 system. We had to go to the ISC, ICOM, and then IA. So I did my science studies from the Mahindra Multiple Campus in 1996 and 7. Yeah, and then it was a big jump from me coming from the school, from the rural area, and then encountering with this English medium. Science has to be done in English medium, and then we had to study English. So what we did, we just memorized everything, the whole formula, Newton's law, everything, everything, we had to memorize everything. But then without getting anything. So that kind of education is very heavy, very heavy, it's become a burden for us. Even now, till this time, our education system is all about memorization.
Yeah.
The moment you memorize, you can get a score, you can get marks. And if you get marks, the school is happy and the parents are happy. But then these marks is not going to work in the field. So it's not getting any space when it comes to the realities.
Yes.
So reality is one place, but the education is the other side. It doesn't come together. That is the big problem at the moment in Nepal, be it is Surkhet or anywhere else. It has been a big issue at the moment. If we don't deal it now, I think we'll go far behind in the future.
So it means the whole system is directly and indirectly based on the memorization and rote learning.
Yes, I mean whatever the teacher, school teacher, or even this school professor or the university professor, it's about they have to learn everything. Learn for the sake of marks. If you can get A plus, that's good and fine. But then A plus sometimes doesn't work in the field. When you have to do it, your education, doing education is important. And
yes, sir. It is. For my information, you went to India also for some, post-graduating degrees. And would you please describe a little bit the way of teaching learning process in comparison between Nepal and India, the teachers' qualities, the motivation of the students, the resource available in the schools, let's say universities or colleges. How do you really want to compare the Nepali and Indian education system?
Thank you, sir. And let me put it in very nutshell. Like I had a professor from Oxford and who used to teach us in one subject, and then I had studied under him in my post-graduation in Pune itself. And so he used to teach about research methodology, and then we were taught one of the software that, Zotero, you might be knowing Zotero.
Sir, I have a question. Sorry for interruption. You studied, research methodology here in Nepal also when you were doing your bachelor and master to some extent, okay?
Yeah.
And you studied research methodology in Pune, in India also. So how do you compare the overall teaching learning systems, the assignment the teacher provides, and the way they explain the things?
Let me put it in the way. Let me finish this one. Okay. So we were taught one software that's called Zotero.com. It's open source. You can download it. It synchronizes with the Microsoft Word and then also Mozilla Firefox. And it's a very useful tool, by the way. And then after doing research, I came to Nepal and then I wanted to give a orientation to university guys. And then after giving 3 hours of lecture on Zotero, which was free, by the way, if I had to charge money, I would have charged money 3,000 rupees per hour. But then I just give free. And then one of the students, he just raised his hand and he said to me, "Sir, we can buy thesis here in 6,000 rupees. Why do I need to do all these hard works?" See, how can we expect academics, in terms like this, how can we expect the education from such group of people where we don't really motivate them to do by themselves? So whatever research we talk about here, it's more about copy and paste. I'm not trying to attack any university here, but then this is what the reality is when you go into the market, and then even if in the Kathmandu. So that has been a big challenge here at the moment. So to talk about the issue here is we have to be very much practical, very much practical learning in research methodology.
Yes.
So that's what the different we find it here, and then also in India there is some big changes. I'm talking about a place called Pune, and then where the academic is very high. The Pune is known as the East of Oxford, so it has got a very high standard of education.
Here we go. Sir, you got the chance, or let's say privilege, to go to Europe also, and you visited, as I have heard that you visited Switzerland, Germany, and France, and some other countries of the Schengen network. Our audience really, want to know how did you experience? Did you get chance to go to schools and universities over there? And let's talk a little bit about the societies and lifestyles, mainly how the people take this teaching learning process over there.
Yeah. I think for me, like when I talk about my experience in Europe, I want to be very, very frank with you. Don't think about Europe is like heaven. So this is just a place like we have here in Nepal. So if I talk about something good in West, doesn't mean like no, I'm just trying to put West in the top. No, not in that way. There are some issues in the West. They have their own struggles, which we don't have it here in Nepal. But we have our own struggles, which they don't have it. So let me come back to the educational area here. It was in 2016. I went to Europe. I had a privilege to visit Germany and then France, Switzerland, and then also nearby countries, Poland and Czech Republic. And of course, France is very close by, Belgium is close by, along with a small country, Luxembourg. So my educational exposure was in Germany mostly. And then I really wanted to go to Finland to experience about their education system, as Finland is very, very high rank in education system, which you know very well. So when I was invited in one school in Germany, just to give a brief introduction about Nepal. So I started from class 1 to class 10. So it took me almost 3 days to finish all my presentation. So it was in class, I think kindergarten only. We call it UKG, LKG here. So in kindergarten, when I was in the class, I saw some pictures from Nepal. And in one of the side, there was a picture from one Nepali lady who had some ornaments on her nose and then on her ear. And then one little child stood up and raised her hand and said to me, Mr. Zanak, they call it by name, by the way. Mr. Zanak, how come you could just take a picture of the lady who had such a heavy stone on her nose, and you couldn't even help her to take out that heavy stone and heavy metal? So I never thought on that side, never thought. And she could feel that this old lady, old mama is having problem or having some heavy stuff. So it might be very much heavy for her. She could really relate with the picture. So which I didn't even think on that side. Partly because of my culture, I didn't think so. But then that was new for her. But even to that extent, to think, to process, is very high in the kids in West. The reason they were very sensitive is because they were taught in a way that they can ask questions. So the children from the small age, they were taught in a way that they could raise questions, they could think about questions. They are not afraid to ask questions to their teacher. Teacher is like a friend. And I was just thinking about kids here in Nepal, as I also teach here, and then even I work here in the Morning Star International School here. Like we have a kind of fear among students that they can't really talk to teacher openly. So this is a big gap we see. The way we nurture kids plays a big role when they are grown up. So that is one of the things. And I have another experience. We went to the university in Stuttgart. The university is very famous university, by the way. All these the big leaders from Germany and other countries, they study here. The University of Tübingen. So it is in Stuttgart. If you go to, it's in, of course.
Sir, where is it located?
It's very close to Switzerland. It takes just 3 hours, 2 hours drive from Switzerland. So it's in Stuttgart. And University of Tübingen. So when I was in the university, I had a privilege to attend one of the seminars. So their education system depends on self-study. So of course, professors are there, and then everything is available. Library is there. So the student don't really spend time in the study, and then there's no point of they will graduate. They have to write papers, discuss more about and process on this education. So it's all about self-motivation. So it's not about the teacher-centered or professor-centered education. It's more about the students-centered education, where they have to explore, they have to do research, they have to write papers. So as one of the professors said, like German they write very much, and the English they read very much, and the Indian they copy very much. It's a kind of British slang. I was wondering, what do we Nepali do? Probably, well, we talk much. I don't know.
So would you please repeat that one? German write much.
German writes a lot. I mean, they are writers.
Yeah.
English people, they read a lot. And then Indian, they copy a lot. If you go to India and in the place called Daryaganj, you can find all the books. And I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to them, but then this is a challenge for us. Like, how much we write, how much we read.
Exactly. Yes.
Matters a lot. And do we read outside the box? That's the question.
Why not? Yes. So now let's move to the Nepali education system. So what are the points do you think are very, in the dire need to improve? How can we actually reform from our side as a teacher, as a student? What are the 5 things that you think very important to get the immediate change? Later on we can have policies, procedure, and it takes 50 years or 100 years to get the overall system improved.
Yeah.
But if we really want to do something recently, what we can do?
It would be very much unfair if I don't say these things very here.
But it's okay, because truth is bitter.
I'll keep it in the top. If we Nepali people don't mix education and the politics together, that would have been much better for country.
Okay.
Politics is not bad. It has got some ways of doing, but then education and politics is costing a lot for Nepal, and it's going to cost a lot if we don't really divide it. Education is something that you develop others. It's about development, and when it is mixed with the politics, which has got self-interest or some, everybody has their own interest, and it just gets lost the vision. And then this is a big danger for Nepali education system. We see this a big problem, and like it or not, but wherever you go, you can see this the reflection. But education system needs to be very, very pure. It's a pure area where you can think, you can process, you can nurture, you can develop. So it all happens in the education. It's not about learning textbooks. It's about learning the whole. It's about a holistic learning. So where you don't just learn language or about the engineering or mathematics or any management. It's about learning the culture itself, So we develop ourselves to the level that the society needs. So this is one of the big challenges. Second, self-motivation. We hardly see self-motivation here in Nepal. And what happens?
Both either in teacher or students.
It happens to both sides. It's both sides of the coin. We need to update ourselves. We can't just teach the same this science or even science, even technology. It keeps changing every day.
Why not?
So even the way we teach English also needs to be changed. So we have been teaching the same thing.
Okay, we were talking about motivation. Motivation in teacher and motivation in students regarding the teaching and their duties and responsibilities. Yes, sir.
A second important aspect that I would say about is the self-motivation. So students need to be motivated. So it's not just learning the text or textbook. It's more than that one. I hardly see here in the university in Nepal, here in Surkhet, because I live very close by. I know, not even one newspaper is lying in the table here. I mean, we hardly see Kathmandu Post, Himalayan Post, and then the students, they don't even look at the newspaper. They hear about news, but they don't look at the newspaper. And how can you process your thinking just by listening? Listening can be biased, but you have to read. Reading, where is the reading culture here? And we read summary, we read just abstract. We listen about abstract, we don't really read entire things, the story even. So this is one of the problem. We don't really get the complete picture. And then the self-motivation will not encourage. So how can we expect them to change the entire things when the students themselves are not motivated? So that's the one challenge. And the third thing that I would say, we don't have a writing culture as well.
Exactly.
So writing culture is very much important.
And this is one of the major aspects of academia, yes?
Yeah, of
writing,
course.
yes.
Of course, if you don't write, how can you read?
Exactly.
The person who reads a book and it's his responsibility to write also. If he wants to keep if he has a vision to see this generation to come up and then to read, and then he has to lay some legacy of reading also, and for this he has to write. Now coming to the writing point, we don't really write. We don't have a habit of writing. Once in a year or twice in a year, every semester we write. That's the only thing we write. And apart from that, we don't really write. We don't maintain diary, and we don't maintain journal. And then how can we develop your writing? And then here in the university, and then I have seen the students who are doing masters in English, and then of course in campus, CISA campus also, the level of English they have. I'm not trying to attack on their English, but then they can do it, but they didn't try it. So they don't really write it.
Yes.
And how can you expect them to write long thesis when it comes to dissertation? So this is another problem. And number 4, I would say about the kind of interaction between the teacher and the students, be it is in a school or in the university.
In any subject, yes?
Yeah, any subject.
Because every subject has theoretical and practical side.
We need hierarchy. I strongly believe that we need some hierarchy. But then hierarchy is to help, not to dominate. So the students and teachers, they are in a way they are friends. They share each other, and then do we have that culture where the students and teacher can sit in the same table and talk about the issues? Is there any space where they can discuss about respect each other's ideas? And I mean, the professor or teacher is not just the head of the information. We can learn from anybody. Even the students has got some new ideas where teacher can
why
learn.
not?
So it's about the system that we have here in Nepal. Doesn't mean like West doesn't have anything like that. They have their own struggles, but then we can change this very here. And then lastly, I would like to address these things. The whole system, the education system as a whole. When I say education system as a whole, we need a blend of East and West in Nepal.
Good.
There are things which are very good in Nepal, and we have the people-oriented culture where we can get into the group, we can meet our friends, we can talk to the unknown people here openly. Whereas in the West doesn't really happen these things. You don't really talk to the stranger. You can't even raise your eye. It's very awkward when you go and talk to the stranger, and go and shake hands with the stranger. It doesn't happen in the West. But this is a good thing in Nepal. We have that spirit. We have that culture, which you will not find in the West. And then but then the West is also have some good stuff. We can't say the Western culture is all about rubbish. No. We can't say like that. They do have some good stuff where we can also get from them. They are kind of learning environments. They are reasoning, rhetoric. We don't have rhetoric here. In the early days, in the Greek time, the man called Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, these are the people who really start the education, I would say. And the kind of rhetoric they have is helping them to think and process an issue. We have lost rhetoric style of studies where we just memorize. So when I said we need to blend, there are good stuff in the West and there are good stuff in the East. If you blend it together, I think that would be much better system here in Nepal. And then the new generation is coming up here in Nepal, so who actually wants to see changes. And they need to be shaped. They need mentoring. They need some sort of coaching. They need some sort of help where the present generation can help them to shape in a way that they have to go. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You just said that the blend would be better because we have also some positive aspects and they have also, and we can learn from each other's sides. So, what is the possibility of how actually the students can learn? Students of Nepal or India can learn some strength and positive things of European students. Is there the possibility of student exchange and faculty exchange, or how they can learn from each other? What is the process? Because sometimes some of the schools, some of the colleges and universities, they try, but they don't have the connection. Because visiting directly is the best way to share the things, knowledge and skills.
And I strongly believe that when you get exposed with the area, with the place, and you can get much better than classroom learning. That's
Exactly.
sure. And then of course, I think we need to have a network. Like I was just thinking about in the past, like bringing some students from outside and then getting exposed with the school here. And then at the moment we are in the global age, so
Yes.
we talk about the expenses. It's not that much, high expense. Just to go to Europe and get exposed to the education system, and then there are students who are willing to come here and they are happy to come here.
Exactly.
And I was talking to a school, and when I was there, and then the principal was saying we want to send some kids from class 10 to Nepal and get exposed with the Nepali culture.
So
that
not
they can
only
grow away.
from Nepali side, but from the European and American side also, people are really interested to visit.
I would say that they are much they have a high curiosity to come here than Nepali students.
That's the bigger privilege.
The reason because that they are the one who think. It's not parents are not thinking for them. When you are in class 9 and 10, that's the point they have to decide whether they want to continue their higher studies or they want to go in the entrepreneurship, like some sort of we call it.
Is it a kind of gap or internship after the school before the university?
See, in England, if you go in England, they actually they know very well what they are going to do by 10. Once they are in 10, they either go to architects or some sort of engineering or plumbing, all this kind of field they already have it in mind, and then that's what the country needs. But here, what we need MA degree or BA degree.
So it means, you mean to say that after completing their school education, they go for 6 months or 1 year to visit the places and learn something related to their interest area. Then only they can resume their university.
Sir,
Yes, that's good.
Let me tell you, I want to add this thing. I have my friend's daughter who was in class 10.
Okay.
She went for summer vacation. One of the summer vacations she worked. She was very rich. She was very rich, very, very highly well up. But then she went for work. She used to work 6 hours to earn money so that she could go to India and visit India. So the money was not. The parents could have easily paid, but then she said, "No, I want to do it myself. I want to earn some money so that I can go to India and learn about North Indian culture."
Okay.
Do we parents here in Nepal allow our children to work so that they can earn money and they can go and get exposed with some area?
And it is a good message to those students, those children who often have a kind of complaint towards their parents that my parents are not rich, so that I don't have any privileges. I am very unlucky person. Some people are thinking that way.
The moment parents are paying, they are spoiling their kids. By the way, in those days. And then I really disagree with this fact. Like parents are giving everything what the kids need, and then there is a high possibility of exchanging the East and West students and having some limited some network with the school and universities. And I think this Midwest University is trying to do that one, and I hope they will be able to do it. I'm sure they can do it much better. Yeah.
If somebody from the higher education institution like the university or colleges or maybe some schools wants to have that kind of connection, and do you love to facilitate, or do you really like to facilitate them to have a kind of exchange or
gathering program.
Yeah, I mean, this. I'll be happy to do it, but then I have some other things to do, and yeah, I mean, this just yeah, I can do it in my
As a volunteer and whenever you have time and so on. Okay, so thank you very much for your very important time, and we had a very beautiful message. If somebody really wants to get a kind of improvements and change whatever is going on in his or her life, but those people who really want to be same for 50 years, that's not for our purpose. And those people who really wants to change, learn something, and open their ears to listen and eyes to know those things. And do you want to say anything particularly to the teachers of Nepal? Because most of the time, why I am asking this question is, many times people blame to the teachers. It is the teacher who did not play or who do not play the role that is supposed to be played.
We are in 2020 at the moment.
Okay.
We run in June at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We are in everything is happening in June, and are in different. In India, Airlines has come up with a Geo Meet now at the moment.
Yes.
So there were times like we didn't have all these facilities now.
Exactly.
Now this facilities is not just need, but it's just it's not just desire. It has become a kind of a part and parcel for life. So now I really want to see our teachers to come up with this label, to update themselves. I know if they are teaching language, they have to come up with a label where they can deal with this generation at the moment.
Exactly.
And now kids, they can speak much better at the moment. So we need to really update ourselves. Don't teach what we taught last year. Don't just have this old the handouts.
Maybe don't reflect to your teacher when you were having your education before 15 years, yeah?
No.
Something like that.
They did best in their time, but then can we do best in our time?
Why not? Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Janak, for your valuable time, and you have talked and you have raised very beautiful issues that are very practical for our students and teachers and those people who are directly and indirectly related to the field of education. And at last, I have a very important and very interesting question. Please respond me accurately. You have been responding me accurately. It doesn't mean that I am not blaming you for this time only, because it is related to your lives.
Yeah.
By the way, how did you make your English so fluent and beautiful?
Well, English, it's just a language.
Okay.
And anybody can speak language. So it just it depends. Like if you are in need, if you are passionate of learning something, you can do it. And for me, like when I was in India, I was in touch with the university, and then it was my need, by the way. And then I had to look at the newspaper, and the Hindu newspaper that is very famous in India. Every people who wants to do IAS, they have to go through this one, and then Indian Express and Times of India, and then Hindustan Times. Those are the newspapers that I used to refer a lot. And it's all about the newspaper. You can learn vocabulary, you can learn grammar, you can learn the way writing skills. So you can learn a lot. And then along with this one, I used to listen a lot. So TV channel, and my favorite channel, BBC, we have the Heart Talk, which I used to refer a lot. So I love the Heart Talk a lot, and then Heart Talk is.
Did you watch one on the program? I guess it is from the radio. Have you shared or something like that?
Yes. And the TV news is the one. It can help you. Even phonics.
Exactly.
That helps a lot.
Because we can read the lips, yes, whenever the speaker is.
Exactly. And that's all, and it comes naturally, and you don't need to work so hard. Like when you take it as a challenge, and then it's done, and it's not a problem. So
I think other thing we can manage. But what about fluency? You have that marvelous fluency.
Really, I mean, this is.
I cannot handle that situation perfectly. Sometimes whenever I speak few sentences I can, but how do you manage this fluency? Please, this question is not only from my side. This question is from the audience side, the students who are watching us, and the teachers who really want to make their English fluent.
I work with the people with different nations. Like I work with Indian has a different accent.
Exactly.
From South India, and I had experience. My boss was from. I had 4 boss. One from Scotland. It's very high accent, and of course one is from California, and this guy also has got some American accent. a high accent. And then I encounter with the German people, very thick accent. And then Swiss people also, I worked with the Swiss guy also. I had a couple of people always. And then a lot of people that I worked with them and they are different accent. And I try to manage it. So if you try to manage all these different English, Australian English, like you have different accent in Australia. So we come up with this typical accent like
that's good.
I think
So
it's my
yeah,
accent.
one sample, you are using English effortlessly. The interesting thing is, whenever we speak language, we use little bit extra energy when we speak second language. Do you have to put extra energy whenever you speak English or Nepali? Do you have to struggle a little bit?
I don't
Is there any percent of struggle whenever you change the code from Nepali to English?
Struggle happens when you lack vocabulary.
Exactly.
The moment you have vocabulary, you don't need to really struggle. And English is the language where you have varieties of vocabulary. Whereas in Nepal we have.
If we don't have one vocabulary in a particular time, we can use another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then is the way you express it, then you can squeeze in the different ways. If you can't tell the way one way you want, but then you can just turn over to other style. So it's all about language, and you can think about the general communication.
Exactly.
It's not.
And the thing is, whenever you speak, I hope you know very well the Hindi, Nepali, and English. So do you think that similar way whenever you communicate, you don't have to think, struggle, or put extra energy, whichever language you speak, either Nepali, Hindi, or English? It means you have almost got a kind of mastery over three languages. Do you want to say it that way? To some extent, not 100%.
Yes, of course. Everybody has their own struggle, and I think I can manage with three languages. And of course, I learned some Hebrew and then also Greek, which I can read it.
Yeah.
I can read Hebrew and Greek, but then I can't really understand everything. And I have written a literacy manual in the Kui language, which is the tribal language in Orissa. So it's
it means three languages you feel comfortable whenever or whatever, or how long do you speak? Why I am raising this question? Sometimes people speak English for 5 minutes and they get tired. Even the teachers, their face becomes and they drink water and kind of things. But in your case, whichever language you speak, either Hindi or English or Nepali, you can go up to whole day, very week.
Even I can't go whole day for Nepali.
Whatever. You can manage your life and your personal and professional communication in English. The whole day, the week, the month, and years.
I spent 3 years with German people, German guy, and I had to spend English only. So I didn't have that problem. But having said that, let's not keep the English in that style. And it's just the, as we speak in Nepali. So make it reasonable.
So this is why I am trying to dig out this thing is, this is the exact dream of so many students and teachers. Because they really want to make English like that comfortable, like Nepali.
The problem we have here in Nepal, they want to learn English, but they want to try.
They want to learn, but they won't try.
And they don't want to read books. And nobody wants to read newspaper. And then they just want to talk in English. And how can it happen when you don't try?
Exactly, because how do we receive new vocabularies and structures that are used for everyday communication?
Reading dictionary doesn't mean like, you can't read dictionary. You can't look at the vocabulary and learn vocabs. That's not the way we can learn. So it has to be, read a lot.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Valuable time.
It's my privilege. Thank you.